Welcome to today's Digital Accessibility Compliance presentation by iMedia. Today's presenters are John Huffstutler, Partner of Optimization Services, and Liz Gilbert, one of iMedia's top web developers certified by the W3C in accessibility. Today's learning objectives are to help you understand, identify, develop, and execute your accessibility plan. By understanding your plan, you're going to understand the guidelines as set forth by the DOJ. You're going to understand how you can identify where to begin developing your plan. And once you've begun that process, you're going to set forth on developing the key elements to achieving accessibility. And the execution piece, you're going to continually execute so you can remain compliant throughout the course of your digital website experience. Now let's understand the current guidelines and where you might find them. The United States Department of Justice portrays websites as being a public point of access, and they should not be limited to access to individuals with disabilities. Much in the same way brick and mortar buildings need to provide access for those people who are disabled, websites must also comply. The DOJ recognizes the global WCAG 2.2 A and AA compliance as a de facto standard for website accessibility compliance. There are examples of court cases being filed, particularly in New York Southern District. The institutions targeted are located all over the country and also includes educational institutions, private colleges, universities, conservatories, and large research universities. Some of the sources of the information where you can learn more about the governance behind website accessibility are listed in these links. Now let's talk about the four components of WCAG 2.2 AA accessibility compliance. Many agencies refer to this as the POUR method: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. The information on your website needs to be perceivable. Let's start there. Perceivable means information of user interface components. They must be presentable to users in ways they can perceive. This means users must be able to perceive information being presented. It can't be invisible to their senses. So you're always going to need to create content presented in ways, including by assistive technologies, without losing meaning. And an example of this is don't use bold tags to emphasize text. Operable. User interface components and navigation must be operable. The interface cannot require interaction that a user cannot perform. All functionality on a web page should be made available from keyboard. You don't want to use content that may cause seizures, and you want to be able to have content that helps users find content. An example of operable, and one of the things that a lot of people miss during their website accessibility efforts are they don't make sure the attachments, downloadable attachments such as PDFs, have meaningful titles, and those PDFs themselves are accessible. Adobe makes it really simple within their Acrobat tool to help your PDF be compliant for accessibility. So you really want to make sure that when you are uploading documents to your website, not only do you have a standard nomenclature that's descriptive, you also want to make sure that you run them through the Acrobat checker for accessibility compliance. Moving over to understandable, information and the operation of the user interface must be understandable. And what's that mean? You have to make the text readable and understandable. Some of the programming methods that are in use today that make a website look cool and sexy may not necessarily make it accessible. So you're going to really have to pay attention to making sure the content appears and operates in predictable ways. An example here is pages should specify the natural language of the document as well. This helps screen readers identify all of the aspects within your page. Robust. Content must be robust enough that it can be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of user agents, including assistive technologies. Maximize compatibility with current and future user tools, and establish and continually revise accessibility statements. For example, if an image is the only content in a link, it must have an alternative text component to it. You'll find many images on many websites across the globe that simply just have a blank alt text. So let's talk about how you go about identifying current accessibility defects. One of the simplest ways is to generate an automated scan. There is a lot of scanning tools out there that you can use to scan your website, every page in your website. One of the tools that we use is by Crown Peak. It's a digital quality management scanner. And we use this to help with our remediation efforts for clients who are looking for to be website accessible. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to engage with a company or with a firm that provides these accessibility maintenance services. And you'll want to have your website scanned for an initial reading. The next step would be to remediate those defects after you've documented them, and then document the fix. Some customers also choose to have their website, after this first step, viewed using assistive technologies such as the JAWS reader. You can take that step if you want to, but typically an automated scan can get you well into the A and AA compliance zone. As mentioned earlier, one of the things that are overlooked, printable material and downloadable materials are not compliant. In this example, the PDF document is not compliant, and this document is on a prominent Ivy League university's website for instructional purposes, yet the document for download for the students is not accessible. Oftentimes, one of the other things that's overlooked and are shared on many websites are Word documents. And you'll find, upon downloading them, checking the accessibility, you'll find that many of them don't adhere to accessibility compliance best practices. Word also, like Acrobat, makes it really simple to check your document for accessibility and remediate any of the defects. This is something that everybody should do, along with, again, making sure your nomenclature for that document name is descriptive in nature and adheres to some type of internal standard. Now let's talk about human review. So human review is essentially a review of your website by individuals using assistive technologies. This ensures a deeper level accessibility throughout your website. It'll help you identify at a more granular layer how your website is behaving to screen readers. Now, these screen readers aren't hardware devices. You can actually purchase and download a software-based screen reader from Freedom Scientific. JAWS is the de facto standard for screen readers for the blind or visually impaired, and it helps them, the screen reader helps read your website and pulls the information to an output device like their computer audio or a braille display. This is critical for many websites that may be focused on serving the disabled community, but it's probably something you should take on at least once a year in either your internal accessibility team or a authorized partner that's well-versed in the JAWS reader. We do recommend that at least once a year your site is reviewed in a human fashion with these devices. So now that you have all the tools that you need and you have a readout of your defects on your site as it relates to A and AA, let's look at developing your plan. So your plan should really allow your accessibility team to quickly process the results of the automated and manual review. A lot of the times the results can be exported to an Excel file and documented and reviewed and dispersed through different team members that are capable of fixing these errors. What you should do is you should document the scan date and time, guideline violation, date remediated, remediation defect solution, the manual review date, the date remediated, and the remediated defect solution detail. What this does is it begins to build your paper trail in the event that you receive a demand letter from a legal institution or a legal firm saying that your site is out of compliance. And the purpose of the paper trail is to demonstrate that indeed you pay close attention to accessibility and that you take it very serious and you have an ongoing program. This can really help mitigate any further litigation from whether it be a governmental agency or a private law firm. As a follow-on to that, this isn't a one-time, one-and-done execution. Okay, what you really need to do is realize this is an ongoing process. So you really need to develop your plan, and you can do this with 4 easy steps. So either get with a partner or facilitate an ongoing automated scanning initiative with human review twice a year. Our automated scanning services scan your website once a week, and we report to you at a high-level report with your paper trail once a month. We have an ongoing remediation effort depending on the output of the scans during the course of the month, and then you get a readout from us on how that month turned out from an accessibility perspective at the end of each month. So this allows you to always have that paper trail at hand. You want to also make sure you create an accessibility statement. You want to make sure this is validated by your legal department. All websites should have an accessibility statement. And again, what this does is it makes it known to your audience that you take accessibility very seriously. And you can have one listed throughout your site. You could have it listed on forms. You just really want to make sure that your website visitors are tuned in to the fact that you do take this seriously. You want to conduct your regularly weekly scheduled remediation tasks on anything that has been identified. You want to document your plan, your scans, your reviews, your policy, and you want to store them in a secure location. Below, we give you some sample accessibility statements. They can be anywhere from a paragraph to a page. It really depends on how much you want to say about it. I think the biggest takeaway here is you want to give folks a contact, a way to reach out if they're having problems interacting with your site due to an accessibility defect. I think one important note that you should realize, especially if you're operating a commerce site, is that there are millions of dollars in lost revenue opportunities because a lot of the commerce sites out there don't really function in a manner that's friendly and accessible. It's gotten a lot better over the years, but as a commerce operator, you could really benefit from making sure that your whole site experience, including obviously checkout, the whole checkout process is fully accessible to screen readers. This is an area where we would recommend that you did human review maybe once a quarter, so 4 times a year, just to make sure as your site evolves and changes that it's remaining compliant. So let's conclude by just wrapping up what we've learned today. So now that we know the law and the risks and how to achieve compliance, let's just put it all together into a nice plan. So you really want to start with an automated scan. Also, after that, you want to do a human review at least twice a year. I would say up to 4 times a year if your situation calls for that. You want to have your remediation plan in place, which is essentially documenting the defects, both A and AA, having a place to store the defect issues, as well as the result for the fix. And then all this is compiled into an ongoing maintenance plan, which is essentially scan, review, document, remediate, rescan, rinse and repeat. That's essentially your ongoing accessibility maintenance plan, and this really helps you build that paper trail for a few reasons, but mostly if you are approached with a demand letter or by some type of legal person who is looking to sue you because they indicate your site is not compliant. That's all for this section of the presentation. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Liz, who's going to take you through some high-level technical side of observations that she makes when she's going through a defects list.
Hi, I'm Liz, and I have a certificate in accessibility from the World Wide Web Consortium, and today we're going to take a look at some quick and easy tips and tricks for going through your website and fixing some accessibility issues. As our example, we will be using our own website, iMediainc.com. And typically, what we recommend doing is you have an automated scanner that maybe runs once a week, once a month, however often. We personally use Crown Peak Digital Quality Management, and that runs once a week and then prints out this report of accessibility issues. And all the reports are probably going to look a little different, but they should have all the same information. So you can see we've got our level A issues, level AA issues, and level AAA. And then if you click on these to expand them, you'll see it'll give you each of the checkpoints that you want to check. And if you're not sure exactly what a checkpoint means, like looking at this, if you're not sure what image alt attribute should not be empty means, we do have a link to the WCAG quick reference, and this goes into detail for every single issue that they are going to be scanning and shows you, kind of walks you through how to meet those requirements. So you can see all of them are over here, but you can also within here click on these to expand it and then click to get even more information. And so if we take a look at an example in here, so if we take a look at on focus, it looks like we have a lot of issues here. So if we click into that and then click into this item, it'll give us details. It'll give us a list of pages where these issues are occurring. And then if we go into one of the issues in particular, it will give us the URL, and then it will highlight on the page where the issues are. So you can see these issues are all down here. And it's just saying that these are opening in a new tab, but there's no indication that they open in a new tab. And so if we were to then go to the page itself and scroll down, if we right click on one of these issues and click inspect, you can see that it does open in a new tab because of the target equals _ blank. However, again, there's no indication that that is what that's doing. And there is a couple ways that you can fix this. You can see we do have the screen reader only text. So you could add something there, and we're just going to do this in the browser. You could add something there that says like opens in a new tab or something similar. And that way a screen reader is going to read that and say, oh, this opens in a new tab, and lets the user know that if they click this link, they will no longer be on the iMedia site and it will be in a completely different tab. Another alternative is to, if you update the actual link tag and you go in here and you can do ARIA label, and in that label you can say, I recommend saying the link, basically very similar text to what it says in the screen reader only. So something like Facebook opens in a new tab. And if you update that, and then once this scan runs again, it would list this as fixed, so there would be one less issue. And again, a lot of them, so like this in particular, because we are looking at 294 issues, this is occurring in the footer. So if you fix it in one location, it should fix it everywhere. So if you are in the dev tools, particularly in Chrome, there is a plugin called Lighthouse that you can use to generate an accessibility report on the fly. So if you click on this tab in the console, and you can just do navigation, device, we want to do desktop. In this case, it doesn't matter because it is showing on both. So desktop, and just because we're only going for accessibility right now, we can uncheck everything else. And click Analyze Page Load. And in this particular case, it's not going to show that as fixed because I just fixed it in the dev tools. But once you have the permanent fix up on your site, you can run this and it'll show you right away where the issues are. And so again, you can see there's a couple issues that need to be fixed, but for the most part, this page is doing pretty good. And it may not necessarily catch everything because this is a quick run instantly tool instead of one that scans your whole site and is very, very thorough. So that issue actually isn't in here. But you can see we have a different issue where the heading elements are not in a sequentially descending order. So we could go in and fix that on this page and then rerun this scan, and it would show these items as fixed. And another common one is color contrast. That's probably that, and using just quote learn more or read more as the link text are probably our most common issues that we come across with our clients. And obviously to fix the link text, you would have to update that so that it's more descriptive. So it says like, learn more about Kentico connections, or learn more about whatever it is you're trying to send the user to. For the color contrast, though, we tend to use this WCAG contrast checker. And you basically put in the foreground color, which is the text color, and then the background color. And as a reminder, you could get those by going on this page. So we'll scroll down where it has some colors. So if you do inspect element, you can highlight this and see what the background color is. So this is our background color, and you can copy that and paste it in the checker. And then if you go back to this tab, the text color then is up here, and it is black. So it is what's in there, but you would copy it and again paste it in the foreground. And in this case, you can see this does pass AA and AAA, as well as AA on smaller and larger fonts. However, for someone with color blindness, this does not pass the test. So if you click this See Grayscale button, this is what someone with complete color blindness would see. And you can see that it is pretty hard to read. So then if you go back, we could go in and modify these colors so that it passes all of these criteria, or whatever criteria you are trying to pass. But fix as much as you can using all these different tools, and you will be well on your way to having a much more accessible website.